I look like a ghost. Oh well. Ghostly it is. Hello there, welcome back to the Closet Historian. Today I wanted to tell you all about my fall and winter sewing plans. Just like I did with my summer sewing series, I sort of made a video to start that off talking about the kind of projects I was going to be doing, and I really regimented myself this last summer so I would get the sewing done, and it actually really worked quite well. My theory of if I told you about what I was planning on sewing and then promised to sew things here on the channel that I would actually get things made, that hypothesis worked out quite well for me. I did end up completing all the projects that I set myself in that summer sewing video, so I think I'll be doing that here again, telling you about what I plan to do, that way I have to do it. I do hope to get a few more projects done that I'm going to be talking about today, but those are just the ones that I won't be filming, so I won't mention them just because I doubt I'll get time to film those for the channel, and I do feel bad when I sew anything that I don't film and share with you all now because I feel a little bit like I'm cheating on you, but when I need to turn a project around quickly or do something fast, of course, stopping to film every step takes up a lot of extra time, so if I just need to draft something and then sew it together really quickly, I can finish a project in 2 days, or like in maybe even in a day if I'm not filming it. So sometimes I'm going to be slipping in a few projects that probably won't end up here on the channel, and I do feel bad about that kind of thing, but I just can't film everything all the time. It would be nice if I just had sort of cameras set up in here in like a much more autonomous way to just film me as I go, but as it is right now, the only way I can film what I am sewing is just to stop and reset up the camera or use my phone and just film each step myself. So it would be good if I was like the chef on a cooking channel and someone else was here following me around with the camera, and then I could just do my thing, but alas, that is not the case. But I will of course be making a few pretty big projects here on the channel to share with all of you so you can see how I do my pattern drafting and how I would go about sewing those more fall and winter themed projects. And the first project on my list coming up real soon here is going to be a 1920s 1-hour dress. Now I've made many of this style of dress before over on my blog, or I've talked about them a lot over my blog and worn them quite a lot over on my blog. I'll put some pictures of me in this style of dress I'm talking about here on the screen for you, and then some images of actual 1920s 1-hour dress patterns and similar dresses from the 20s to what I'm talking about. This was called a 1-hour dress. I think you were supposed to be able to make it in an hour. Of course, maybe my video might be an hour long, but I doubt it will take me only an hour to make one of these. Usually I can get it like maybe in 3 or 4 hours I can make one of these. So I can make them quite quickly, but even I can't make them in an hour. I don't know. I mean, you have to be a 1920s speedy seamstress to be able to do that. But for me, it still takes at least 4 hours. And I wouldn't judge anyone if it took them a week, to be honest. But this is a much simpler style than anything I've ever sewn on my channel before. It does not require a block, which we may be doing a tutorial on here soon as well. But it doesn't require having the basic block or a slope or anything. It's just going to be your measurements, some paper, pencil, all that stuff, and we're going to be able to make a pattern really easily for this style of dress. So if you really want to try a vintage style sewing project, but you don't have any of those other things that I'm always using to draft patterns here on my channel, this is going to be the project for you. It's really easy, just some simple geometry, some simple straight lines, and we're going to be able to make a 1920s dress really quite simply, just not in an hour probably. I have already bought my fabric for this project. I found this burnout velvet in black and green at Joann's. This is, of course, I think a rayon and poly blend. I think the netting is poly and then like the velvety part is rayon possibly. I don't really remember. I'll have to look it up. I can link to this fabric in the description below as well if you're interested in this kind of fabric. They have a few of these burnouts over at Joann's now that I really quite like. I've had my eye on this fern print one for a while, and so I finally caved and bought 1.5 yards of it to be able to make this project. That's the other nice thing about this project is it doesn't require that much fabric. So if you are interested in following along, this one was coming up quite soon here on the channel in a couple of weeks. So get yourself maybe like 1.5 yards of fabric. If it's wide, you can probably get away with just having 1 yard. So you don't really need a lot of fabric for this, which is nice, especially if you want to use a nicer fabric, because some fabrics can be $35, $50 a yard, and that seems like, oof, if you wanted to make a dress that required multiple yards, it'd be very expensive. But if you find like a really nice beaded fabric that's like $40 a yard, you only have to buy 1 yard to make a 1920s dress, so that does kind of save you some money, so you can kind of splurge on a nicer fabric because you only need 1 yard of it. Do you see what I'm saying? You know what I mean. I will also be making a solid color, like rayon crepe version of the same dress in that video, so technically I'll be making 2 dresses for you just to show you the 2 variations of the different ways I handle the fullness at the hips. But we'll get into all that when I get to that video, but that's going to be the first project coming up here. And for my second project, I'm going to be remaking this dress here that I made this past summer. I made this dress out of a off-white twill from Joann's, and I sort of teased the process a little bit on my Instagram, just showing you as I went along, and a couple of people seemed to think that I was filming that for a video. I was just kind of sharing things on stories. I wasn't actually filming it, so I felt instantly quite bad that I was talking about this dress I was making and then I wasn't filming it for the channel. So because I've had a couple of questions about this neckline and people seem to like respond well to this dress, I will be remaking this dress, remaking this pattern. There are a couple of fixes on this pattern I want to make, so I will do those. I will remake the whole thing really just so I can show you how I got to this pattern. And I don't think I've made an A-line skirt pattern here on the channel yet, so that'll be good to do because I'll be putting an A-line skirt on this black sateen version of this dress as well. That's what I'm going to be doing, making this in a black semi-stretch sateen from Joann's, another very easily accessible fabric found at Joann's, America's largest fabric store. But I think it'll look quite goth, like very like bat wing almost, this neckline in a black sateen, and I just love having sateen dresses in the fall. It's a heavier weight fabric and can be dressed up or down, so I really do like them in the fall, even though you can wear cotton sateen, of course, all year round. I think it's a good fall and winter weight of cotton, because cotton just seems like more of a summery fabric. Usually it's lightweight. I think of like eyelet and denim and like nice crisp summer things. But I think cotton sateen, because it has that shinier depth and thicker weight to it, I think it really works in the fall and winter. So I'm excited to have another black cotton sateen dress with sort of sharp neckline in my closet, and I'm excited to make it all for all of you who felt like I sort of cheated on you when I made that white dress without you. Then my next video after that is going to be actually finishing up a couple of abandoned, forgotten projects down here in the sewing room. So taking something that I left midway through and fixing them up and finishing them up. It'll be a less probably exciting pattern drafting video, but maybe I'll get across a couple of sewing tips because I will be doing a lining on both of those dresses that I have to finish. I'll show you the fabrics for both of those. They are cut out and some of them are still pinned to patterns. I just have these two dresses that I abandoned last year. I cut them out with the greatest of intentions and then never actually made the garment. So I have this floral brown wool that I never actually bought the right color of lining fabric for, so I will go ahead and do that this year and make that dress. And then I have this flecked black and gray wool as well. So I'll be finishing up those two dresses as a project because they are practically, halfway started down here. I need to just finish them up. That way I can put them in my closet. The next thing on my to-do list is a matching set of 3 pieces actually, including this skirt that I get asked about all of the time. I will put some footage or photos in here of this little mini houndstooth skirt that I made from a fabric I found at Joann's. They used to have this fabric in 3 different colors at Joann's actually, but I haven't seen it lately, so I'm actually had my eye on some nice lightweight wool over at moodfabrics.com instead. So a little bit of an upgrade from this poly blend that the other one I made is out of. But I'm going to go ahead and make the skirt of this and the bolero just like the little set I have, and then I also want to make a matching vest as well. So a little 3-piece suit set thing going on there. I'm excited to show you how to make this skirt because so many people have asked about it and it is such a simple modification, so we'll be getting into that later in the fall as well. Another thing that has been highly requested for me to try and make are 1940s high-waisted wide-leg trousers, and I would certainly love to have a couple pair in my closet because I don't really, and I am having a hard time finding wide-leg ones out thrifting. Usually I can find like more like peg-legged ones, which is fine. I don't mind those at all, especially when they're tucked into boots and things like that, but I would love to have proper 1940s looking wider leg wool trousers to wear in the wintertime or wear with my blazers, things like that. So I would really like to make a pair. However, I'm just not very experienced making trouser patterns, so I am going to be either using a reproduction pattern for this, like a 1940s style pattern from one of the repro pattern companies, or finding an original 1940s pattern and using that. So I will be using a bought pattern for this one, but hopefully you guys still won't mind watching me try a pattern for once here on the channel instead of having to make a pattern myself. I usually prefer patterning things, so I'm sure there will be quite a few stages of mock-ups with those because I just don't trust patterns that aren't made by me, but I also don't trust trouser patterns made by me, so it's neither here situation. If you guys have made wide leg 40s trousers before yourself, do recommend patterns to me in the comments below. Then after that, I am afraid I do have a secret project, which I'll just call Project 83, in which will hopefully eventually make sense, but I'll have that in here after the trousers, but I can't say much about it because it's going to be a surprise. So Project 83 is also on the list, so we'll have another project in there, just one I can't tell you about just yet. And that project will be right around Christmas time, so as I shift over into the new year, I do have one more project on my list to show you all me making, and that is to make a dress inspired by this suit from Blade Runner. Yeah, we all know I love Rachel's style from Blade Runner. I love the original Blade Runner film. I love the new Blade Runner film. There are, problematic bits of both, sure, but the aesthetically, musically, the noir, the cyberpunk noir aesthetic of the first one is right up my street, especially for winter style. I take a lot of inspiration from Rachel's style in that movie in general, and so I would like to recreate this suit, but as a dress. So I think I'm just going to be like a high neck sheath dress with like a 3/4 or long sleeve, and then with that color blocking of the different kinds of suiting or colors of suiting material. It's kind of an Adrian, the Hollywood designer Adrian inspired look. I'm sure I've seen actually many 50s and 40s things that are made with this gradient of different shades of fabric. So I'm excited to make a dress based off of this, sort of a fusion of the vintage inspiration and the inspiration of using Rachel's suit from the film. And I think it will be a really nice like workwear dress for me. Not that I work in an office or anything like that, but I'm hoping that I'm going to have, meetings with book people and movie people eventually, to go to and look very professional. So it might be nice to have a very businessy worthy dress in my collection. Not that I couldn't wear one of my suits, of course, but one likes to have variety. So that color blocked dress will be my final planned project for this upcoming winter season. Of course, I hope to get a few more things sewn and maybe even a few more projects done to share with all of you. Do let me know what you would like to see most from me in the comments below. Hopefully some of the things on this list are the same as some of the things that you were hoping to see. I know a lot of people have asked me to do trousers. I know a lot of people have asked me for that houndstooth side drape skirt. So hopefully you guys are excited to see those are coming up here on my to-do list for the next season. And of course, I will see you all again here sewing on the channel again soon. And I'll see you then. Bye.